We all go through different challenges in our lives, and we can liken those challenges to storms. And how do we move through those?
On today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to move through the storms of life so you can come out stronger on the other side.
Welcome, everybody, to Manifestation Mindset, where we talk about the mindset of manifesting, overcoming emotional challenges, and breaking through limitations. We are your hosts. I'm Dr. Aaron Garcia.
And I'm Veronica Mendez, and we go live every Monday. It's supposed to be at 9, but today we had some stormy challenges.
Stormy challenges.
And you can find us on Facebook and on YouTube, and you can click the links below and click the bell icon to get the live notifications when we go live. And give us a thumbs up if you like the show.
And if you're watching us on YouTube, also subscribe to our channel so you know each time when we have a new video that's posted every Monday here. Before we begin our shows, we always like to start off with a bit of inspiration. And we always start with our inspirational moments with Veronica.
So inspirational moments is when I like to share something inspirational. Sometimes it's a card, a writing, or a quote from a book. And today I'm going to share a writing that I did. This was in 2018 in March. And it still kind of is relevant today and what we're talking about. So it says, allow yourself to go within. Close your eyes and truly feel that bright light within you that is waiting to be expressed in the most beautiful, loving forms. Feel the light within, sending warmth all over your body. Feel the sensations of the tingles of vibrations running up and down your body. There's a lot of power within each and every one of you. Expressing the divine love and light within you will bring forth love and happiness. Unlock the secret power within you to be fully expressed in such a wonderful way that you will also be amazed. Create and manifest what you desire. Focus on these things and soon it will be there. Don't worry about what, where, or how. Just feel excited of what's to come. Treat others as a beam of light. Just know if people are unhappy, sad, or worried, they are not in the right vibrational alignment with what they want and are resisting it in some sort of way. Your inner light wants to express itself. Allow the light to shine. Allow the beauty inside each and every one of you to blossom. You are the only one responsible for what happens to you. Don't blame God, the universe, your parents, family, friends, or teachers. You have a choice today to do what it takes to create the change you want to see. Take down your walls, put down your shields, open your heart, and allow the love in. Take that same love within you and send it to each person who has ever hurt you, stolen from you, abused you, yelled at you, or made you angry, and surround them with this beautiful light of love. Notice how you feel and how things will change. Remember, you are the creators.
I like that. That was written over a year ago. Actually,
Yeah,
no,
it's 2018.
more than almost 4 years ago. And it does hold relevant today because there's a lot of things that we all need to, we could say, let go of.
Yeah.
And not blaming other people for any shortcomings or mistakes that have gone on in our life. We are responsible. We are the creators. And if we created that, then we can create something new and something beautiful.
Yeah, and it's all what we're focused on.
Yeah. If you enjoyed that, give us some hearts, give some likes here into the comments. Also, if you're watching YouTube, like this video. And also, you can share it. If you find that anybody that can benefit from this message, let them have it. Because we never know who this message is going to impact today. Because someone may need to hear that. And so that is our inspirational moment with Veronica. So today, we're talking about the storms of life, and it's interesting because we're here in San Diego, California, and today it's supposed to, the weather called for rain, and right now it's pretty sunny outside, and it was cloudy earlier, and it seems like the storm kind of cleared up a little bit, but once in a while the weather calls for rain, or sometimes there's storms, and if we've ever, we all experience this in our lives that there's always rain, there's always storms. And they come and they go, and they don't last every single day. But we also have storms in our life.
Yeah, and it just depends like what you consider a storm. Like this morning we had technical difficulties. We didn't start right at 9 because the camera was freezing up for some reason. So we're joking around. We're having a stormy day today because of the challenges. But it's like if you allow yourself to get frustrated when little things like this happen, you're just, messing up how you feel on the inside. But if you're like, whatever, it's fine, then you just go with it. And, things will usually turn out better afterwards. But in the moment, we don't see it. And some people might get frustrated and start throwing things or whatever. but it's like really keeping that calm within you and that peace. And then a lot of times it does work out way better.
Yeah, I wasn't throwing anything, by the way,
No,
when
he
we
didn't.
had those technical difficulties. But in the past, when we started doing lives, I mean, we knew that there was going to be technical difficulties, and we've had many of them when things didn't work out. And definitely at the beginning, I would get really frustrated when things weren't working the way that I wanted them to. And how many of you can relate to that when certain things in your life aren't going exactly the way that you want, and you get frustrated, you get sad or depressed about that? And it's not good or bad. It just is. It's how we perceive the situation in our life. And how do we move through that? Because we're always going to go through some type of challenge, and everybody's challenge is different. You can't compare one to the next because it's whatever it is for that person. It's real, it's intense, and some are very minor, like a drizzle in the rain. But some can be like a hurricane or a tornado, and it can really be damaging. Maybe you're going through something in relationship. Maybe you're going through a divorce or a breakup or the like. Maybe you're going through some health challenge right now. Maybe some financial issues that are going on in your life, whatever that might be, there's always going to be a challenge. And how do we push through that?
Yeah. And before we move forward, I want to say hello to Moses Limon, Antonio Chavez. He says, good morning. Thank you guys for tuning in. So yeah, we're talking about the storm, and Aaron said, how do we move through it? So it's like, it's really going deep and inside and feeling like, why am I feeling this way? And really calming your inside, like center yourself. Some people do meditation to really calm the mind, and because when we're going through something, our mind is just chaotic, and you start, thinking of scenarios and creating your own stories. And a lot of times, the things that we create in our mind are just things that aren't even going to happen. Like if you're worried about something, you're worried about the worst thing to come. And a lot of times that doesn't even happen. You're like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought. So if you can keep that positive internal dialogue, it works out better for you.
Yeah. And it doesn't always seem that simple in the moment. Again, when a storm happens, you're in the storm. And it can be very challenging to sometimes even be positive when that's happening, and how your mind will go. You could be thinking, oh, this is the worst thing that happens. You're thinking worst case scenario that's going to happen. And then your emotions will start to take over. Worry, fear, anger, all of that stuff is really the storm. It's really not so much the situation that's going outside of it. It's what's boiling up within you that's creating the storm in our perception. Some people can go through a similar experience as you have, or maybe you're going through right now, and you're both going to perceive it differently. And so it really is our perception that can help us get through these challenging moments in our life, and how you view it, how you look at it. What's helped for us, and something that Veronica's helped me with in our studies and our training, is anytime that there's something that seems to be going wrong or not the way that we want them to, we've made it a practice to look at what's the good in this situation. And that was not always easy in the beginning. And sometimes it can still be a little challenging, especially when the emotions are stirred up and they're like on the surface, is you may not even want to see, like, there's nothing good about this. And you'll go that way. But when you train yourself and practice to look at, okay, what's the good in this situation? It's like your emotional storm is up here. Like you're on edge. You're maybe really, really sad. You may be really frustrated. And you have to let that calm down so that way you can see what opportunities are good that's going to come out of the situation, because they're all life's lessons.
Yeah, and so you can think better, because when you're in that emotional state, it's hard to think. It's hard to think of solutions, of even listening to people. People can give you like the best advice, and you're not listening because you're too emotional. And if you allow your emotions to get in the way, then you're not open to other solutions, opportunities, things like that. And Antonio, he says, I always go with the flow now because the ride is so much better than the ride fighting the flow. And that's absolutely true. It's like you just have to go with it. Otherwise, you're in the storm and you're like struggling, trying to either get out of it or, just like Antonio said, go with it, go with the flow, and it just makes it so much easier. And also your internal, the way you feel on the inside, it's like you feel so much better when you don't allow the anger, the fear, the worry to get in the way, because it's like you're more centered and you feel more a sense of peace and calmness on the inside. But when you're in that emotional state, it's like it feels chaotic on the inside. Your blood is boiling, you feel just that anger, whatever it is, the worry, the fear. Um, and it changes your body chemistry as well. So when you're in those emotional states, your whole chemistry gets thrown off. But it's really how long you stay in that emotional state, because we are human and we're going to feel emotions, but how long do you stay in that? And it's okay to get angry, and it's okay to feel sad, but it's like, are you going to allow it to consume you, and are you going to be in that state for a day, for an hour, for 5 minutes? You can choose.
Yeah. In fact, that's what I was going to mention next. Was in your writing, you said one of the key things was choice and choose. You get to choose how you're going to respond or react and feel in any given situation. And so you can choose to be upset. You can choose to be sad. You can choose to be happy and joyful. You can look at the bright side of things. And that's all a choice. And that really is your greatest power, is to be able to choose. And you have to exercise that right to be able to choose how you're going to respond to anything in your life. And there's a universal law known as the law of rhythm. And this is something that's really helped me to help change perspective on a lot of things. And the law of rhythm states that, in a nutshell, everything has its moment. Look at the tide in the ocean. The tide will come in, but eventually that tide's going to go out. Right now we're getting into springtime. We just got out of winter. Spring will always come after winter. After spring, we always know that then there's going to be summer. We never go through a full year of winter. We never go through a full year of spring. The seasons are going to change. That is a universal law of rhythm. And so the way that we look at that is we can look at that in our life as well. Things will have challenges in our life, and eventually it's going to pass and everything's going to level out. You see that also in stock markets, in the housing, in the recessions, all of that. When people were having that crisis 2 years ago, when COVID first hit, and there was the toilet paper crisis, and a lot of people were freaking out and shortages. We looked at, it's going to come back.
We were looking at how to make our own toilet paper.
We were looking at the bright side of things. It's like you get creative, but rather than panicking, which a lot of people were doing, and getting frustrated with everything, was like, we knew that eventually they're not going to have a shortage all the time. If you could just ride out the storm a little bit, eventually it's going to come back, and there's always plenty. Because I understand that there's an abundance in this world, but that's like just one example where things will always level and balance themselves out. And if you can look at your life that way, if you're going through something, realize that it can't last forever. It will last forever if you choose it to last in your mind.
Yeah. And also, a lot of times when we become upset and worried about stuff, it's a lot of times it's because of sometimes when someone else is doing something, or you have expectations of others, and you expect them to be a certain way or act a certain way, do things in a certain way. And if you do that, then you tend to get frustrated because of those expectations. And a lot of times it's like, allow people to be who they are and don't expect anything from them, and then it's just easier. And people will blame other people for how they're feeling, like, oh, they made me so angry and things like that. But no one can really make you angry. You're choosing to be angry based on what someone else did. Now, if you really think about it, why would you hand over your power to someone else based on their actions, or something they did, something they said, something they didn't do? And it's giving up your power because someone did or didn't do something. And when you think about it, it's like, why am I going to allow someone else to do that, to like take away my power, and now I'm feeling yucky? So it's like, really think about how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way. And a lot of times it comes back to when we grew up, when we were growing up, there was things that happened, triggers, things that our parents did, and habits that, we developed over the years. And anything can change though.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about in previous episodes and in our work. Like that's the programming, and a lot of people are still running on the same program when they were like 5 or 6 years old. And it's like right now, we're streaming live. I don't think we can do this if our computer system was running on a DOS. It's outdated. Not even like a Windows XP. Eventually, we have to update the programming to make things more efficient in our life. And how many times have we really sat there and updated and reprogrammed our belief systems? The way we look at the world, how we feel. A lot of people will still, they're doing the same things that they were doing since they were younger. And we all have it. I mean, even when we work on it, we still do things when we were younger. But if we want things to change, we have to sometimes go back and reevaluate our beliefs. We have to reevaluate what we're doing and our habits on a day-to-day basis. And are they serving us in the goals or dreams that we want to achieve? And a lot of people will say, well, I can't do that because of this. And they're allowing what happened in the past to dictate if and when they can do what they want.
Yeah, so when we're talking about going through the storm, so what are some things that we can do while we're going through something? If it's something that's really emotional, maybe reach out to someone. But first, try to center yourself, ground yourself, make sure you're not highly emotional. And sometimes I guess if you are in that state and you're really, you can't really think or, or do, like, what do I do? Like, I don't know what to do. Call someone that is reliable, that has a good head on their shoulders, that can give you some advice in that moment, maybe to help to calm you. But if you're going to call someone that's constantly worried and in fear mode or maybe angry, then maybe that's not the right person.
Don't let them feel the storm.
Yeah, so it's like call someone that can bring you more calmness and peace. And they might be able to say, okay, calm down, breathe, and do this just for right now, or they might be able to help you think of better solutions or something like that.
Yeah, and the key word in that one was breathe. Is because first we have to when we're going through a situation, again, the emotions stir up, and it's really hard to evaluate and see things. And if we say, okay, look at the bright side, look at the good of something, it's very hard to do that in a highly emotional state. Yeah. So we have to deal with that first. And so we can call that its own storm. It's the storm that's building up within you. We have to allow that storm to calm. And like I said, that it's that law of rhythm. It won't last forever, but you have to allow it to come out. Most people don't want to ever deal with it, and they bottle up the storm, and it becomes like a pressure cooker within you. And so breath is really, really important to help make that happen. Is when you're feeling upset, you're feeling sad. Sometimes we just allow people to cry and just allow that energy to get out of you. And you breathe through it. And the breath is calming. When we're stressed or upset, we tend to hold our breath, and that creates anxiety, and because we're not breathing properly. So breathe through that until you feel like your body starts to relax a little bit. The situation outside hasn't really changed, but what's happening within you is changing. And then you can start to look at solutions.
So Antonio has a comment here. He says, off topic, but I have 21 more pounds to go, and I will be at the weight I was in high school. Wow, that's a great awesome accomplishment. Yay. I have to choose to cut weight and exercise my right to healthy living. On the toilet paper, I was going to use the kitty litter in the garden house.
You got to improvise somehow, right? Humans are very creative.
That's a good idea.
If the cats can do it, why can't we? I mean, that's how they used to do it before.
The bidet. We looked into a bidet, but they didn't have it.
But that's the way, it's like we weren't like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? It's like, hey, what other things can we do? It's like we had to get moving. But
cut old rags and stuff.
We were ready to go, but eventually because that law of rhythm, everything came back within 2 weeks, and it was like, oh, all of our ideas and plans, we didn't have to go through them, but we had a backup plan. He said he just wanted to see us both laugh. But that's how we have to take life sometimes. We have to laugh at certain situations.
Yeah. Now I'm crying.
In our life, and laughter is definitely healing. A lot of times we can look back at certain things that have happened, and we can, again, you can't laugh at it sometimes in the moment, but when you go
Yes, you
through
can't. No.
it, some people can, but
No.
I can go back at a lot of events in my life and laugh at it now, looking at, wow, this is how I react and how I thought and felt about this situation. With some things really isn't a big deal, but in those moments, it is a big deal for people, especially when they're
Mm-hmm.
kids, teenagers. The view of the world, the perceptions are still, consciousness is still developing, and it's really hard to look at things. It's like we're basing everything off our senses, what we see, what we hear, what we smell, and that's what reality is. But a lot of times our senses can deceive us because there's so much more that we can't see or hear or smell, taste, touch.
Like some people get upset if there's no frosting on their cake, and that could be a really big problem.
It can be a very big problem. And we're having fun, we're joking a little bit, but this is the things that happen in our life. There was a time when we were working with a client of ours, and it was a friend of ours, who was going through a really bad divorce, and there was a lot of money involved. There was children that were involved, and he was having a very, very hard time, almost to the point where, like, he was an entrepreneur, a businessman, and was having a hard time even starting his business or earning more money because his internal dialogue was thinking, if I start to make more money, she's just going to take it away from me in the courts.
Yeah.
And so he was trying to figure out a way. It was very hard for him to not earn a lot of money. He was having to live on his own again. And the biggest thing that was really hard for him, that we had to bring it out of him because he wasn't aware of it, was what was really hard was he felt like he was not supported.
Mm.
And when we were able to unlock that for him, like, and then a lot of the emotion came out. He calmed down. He felt so much better after when we were working with him. And not, I think more than a week, less than a week later, he was with the mediators, and they settled the case.
Yeah,
And
it was fast.
a lot of it worked in his favor,
Hmm.
and he didn't have to pay as much as he thought, and he was like really, really relieved, and he was able to start, get back to his life again. But what was going on in his mind was really, really heavy.
He had like the worst case scenario type of things going on, and it turned out to not be as bad. Like it was like, wow, like I was worried for no reason. And most of the time it's like that. Like we worry so much for no reason, and it usually works out.
But it's also important when we release that energy,
Hmm.
is as we have to, because when we're calmer, better things can come to us. But if you're worried and fearful all the time, you can attract more of those situations, and you'll see
Yeah.
more storms than less. But the more that you work on within you and let things out, let your belief systems change, let the emotions come out, be calmer, centered on the inside, you'll see less storms. Like today was supposed to be stormy. That's what it told us. But right now it's pretty sunny here in San Diego. Maybe a little windy. Maybe we'll get a little drizzle, but it's not as
Yeah.
bad as the weather they told us it would be. Because anything can change, but it really depends on your energy.
I was actually looking forward to it so the plants outside and the trees can get watered, but it
But
might
that's
come later.
but that's the way it works. And so, breath, and
Yeah,
once you're
breath is key.
and once you center your emotions, the next thing is, like we mentioned it already, was where's the good and what's the good in this situation?
Hmm.
What are the opportunities? And you may not know what those are right now, but if you look for them, you'll find them.
Yeah, yeah. I was talking to my daughter the other day about something like that. Like, um, I think it was about making friends, and um, I was telling her, I go, just visualize like the types of friends you want to have, and just have them call you and say, hey, Violet, come over here, or let's do something, because she wants friends to call her and stuff like that, and then she's like, but how is it going to happen? I said, don't worry about the how. I go, just believe and trust that it's going to happen. And then she kind of smiled and she's like, okay. And, she went to bed. But, she has that worry about friends and things like that. But it's like once you let go of the worry, then you start to attract people into your life. And this one day when she was ice skating, I think she was thinking about it, and then she just asked God. She's like, God, help me attract more friends or something like that. And she just let it go, and she didn't worry about it. She was skating, and then all of a sudden, like these group of girls started talking to her, and then they welcomed her to the group, and even some other people that were there were commenting on her hair, and oh, what are you using? Your hair looks so cool. And she had like all these people that she attracted So when afterwards we're like, see, manifest. So she's very strong at manifesting, and you can too. But it's like how you think, how you feel, which is really important because that gives it energy.
Mhm.
So it's really paying attention. How am I feeling? What am I thinking? And when people are struggling in some uh, in anything like relationships, money, whatever it is, when you really go back, like when you were growing up, how was the relationship between my parents? What did my parents say about money or people around me? What did they, what was the dialogue? Oh, we don't have money, we can't do that. Things like that.
Mhm.
Like we've heard it. So it's like, do we say that now to our kids or to our spouses? So it's paying attention to the words that we're using.
Yeah, because especially children, they're gonna pick it up, and then if we have our own program and habits, we get those from our parents who got that from their parents, and so forth. So we're still carrying a lot of those habits of programming from our great 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 grandparents, and sometimes it's time for us to really take a look and evaluate and say, is this serving us? Again, some of them are really really good, and some of them we can always change, and so we can look at that, things will start to change because we start to develop a different attitude. We do things differently, and by doing things differently, we're bound to get different results in
Yeah.
our life. And we just have to work on the habits because it takes time for those. It depends on your willingness and your willpower and your persistence to do that. But what's important to you to change? And again, you can choose. And one of the first things that we worked on is how are we going to choose to behave in situations, no matter what's going on in our life. We're always gonna the best we're gonna do is try to stay calm, look at the bright side of things, and when there's an emotional storm that comes up, we're gonna work through that. We don't allow things to linger and last and bottle up like we used to do in the past. That was us. I know
Hmm.
Veronica's like that. I did that, where I would never ever deal with anything, and what that would create within me, that would make me feel sick. It would how I would react with other people. I choose not to do that anymore. And if I feel something, I might go through it for a little longer, a bit of a time, but I choose not to allow it to last longer than a few days, no more than a week,
Yeah.
because I know that it's more damaging to me physically, and what that does and what that attracts to me on the outside.
Yeah, and if it's anger towards another person, like the other person probably has no idea that you're angry at them, and it's like it's only harming you, not the other person. So it's like just allow yourself to let it go, release that energy. This past weekend, we were talking to someone about doing these shows and lives and things like that, and sometimes every now and then there's people that try to get you upset or just try to disrupt the energy. And we've had people, making weird comments and stuff like that. Um, and then so I said, see, guys, this is a perfect example of someone who's in a negative energy or negative mindset. So thank you for that. And the person we were talking to, they were like, wow, like I couldn't do that. Like I'd get all mad and start throwing F bombs and things like that. So it's like, it's once you learn to, to stay centered, then you're able to, to just go with it and flow and not get upset by it.
Yeah, and that's the things that we have to do, and it's a practice. You have to do it on a daily basis, and a lot of times when these storms come, you're not sometimes always prepared for those, and they can hit
Hmm.
you. And what's interesting is pay attention to how you feel when certain challenges show up in your life. How are you reacting? How are you feeling? And the more you practice this, what will happen is when those situations show up again, well, you'll know you're making personal growth when you stay more focused, calm, and centered while you're going through that. But if you find that you're still getting, emotionally caught up into the issue, then we know that there's still more work. And
Yeah.
every situation is different. Not to say that you will never go through the emotion of it, because you might lose a loved one. And not to say that you're not going to be sad. You're going to be sad. It's how do you feel 10 years, 20 years later? Do
Hmm.
people still hang on to that? Is it still really affecting them? And are they really moving through that? Because again, that is how our life works. We do lose people that we care about. But eventually, we're going to transition in this world at some point. Don't know when, but it's going to happen. And so it's how we carry it, and do we allow ourselves to release and to heal, to move forward, and allow life to just be what it is. But we are the creators, and we get to choose how we're going to react. And and perceive the world while we're here.
Also, like when people say things to you that are mean or just angry and they lash out at you, if you can understand that they have something on the inside that they're going through, like they're whatever it is they're going through, they're lashing out, and that's just like a way to show like I'm going through something, but they don't know how to handle their emotions, and it could be like maybe they're still angry of stuff that happened when they were a kid, and that's just how their persona is. But it's like when we can have that compassion and understand, like oh, they're going through stuff, they're struggling on the inside, like they have stuff they haven't dealt with, then it's easier to talk to them or just allow it to go, like let it go. It makes your inside, like your feelings better, because you're not hanging on to the anger as well, or you're not getting triggered by their actions or their words and things like that. So it is a practice though.
Yeah. And if you find you are getting triggered by other people's actions, it's still more for you to work on, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
That always tells me there's more that I need to work on that I was completely unaware of. And your emotions will tell you that. And the concept is, as often as you can, how can you be more loving, more peaceful, more centered? As often will you go through a storm? Absolutely. You're gonna eventually get upset about something. You're gonna get sad about something. But you'll notice when you're making progress is how long does that last? You're not gonna say you will never get upset with something. That would be a false accusation there. It's just more of you're going to go through, because emotions are normal. But if you constantly go through it, if it's there for months, weeks, years, decades, that can become an issue for you. And what can that do to your life and what you attract into your life? And that's what manifestation mindset is all about. It starts with our thoughts, that develops our emotions, our behaviors, and what we attract. Exactly. And so, in closing, we want to thank you guys for joining us here today on Manifestation Mindset. Again, we are your hosts. I'm Dr. Aaron Garcia.
And I'm Veronica Mendez. And again, we go live every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific, except for today. So you can find us at the links below, right there. Give us a thumbs up. Click on the bell icon to get the reminders of when we go live.
Absolutely. And we hope you guys have a very blessed day. We appreciate you, and we will see you next time.
Have a great day.
Bye.